Hello and welcome to Making It, the podcast about making theatre and making it as an artist. I'm your host, Temi Wilkey, and each week I'll be chatting to an emerging playwright, theatre maker or theatre company about how they make theatre, why they make theatre, and what they do to survive. I am thrilled to welcome Ella Road to the podcast today because I think she is totally amazing. I saw her debut play, The Phlebotomist, when it opened at the Hampstead Downstairs in spring 2018, and it absolutely blew me away. It's the kind of play where you sort of can't believe that somebody actually managed to write it. I don't know how somebody did that. It's a sci-fi thriller set in the not so distant future. And it was so gripping and dramatic and so very, very rich. And it said so much about the time we're living in and where we might be going, while also telling an incredibly human story. I loved it so much. It transferred to the main house of the Hampstead the following year before being nominated for an Olivier Award. That's right, an Olivier. We are in the presence of greatness. I'm so happy to have you. Thank you for joining me, Ella. Welcome to Making It.
Thank you very much for having me. What a lovely intro.
My first question is, how did you get into theatre?
Oh, good question. I actually don't know the answer to that question, really.
Oh my God, yeah.
I guess it was just from pissing around as a kid and making stuff. I used to dress my little brother up as a girl called Helena. And I'd make him do little shows with me in the living room for anyone who would watch.
Younger or older?
He's younger.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And actually, I think he quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But that was kind of my way into theatre. I didn't come from a theatre family. I come from a family of like medics and science people.
Wait, what do your parents do?
My mum is a GP. And my dad is a neuroradiologist.
Oh, cool.
So he does like brain stuff.
Mm-hmm. My parents are both doctors.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, we've never spoken
I
about
know.
that.
Isn't that mad?
That is mad.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, so I didn't have like a particularly theatre background, but I always wanted to go to drama classes and stuff as a kid, and got quite involved in like the school. Like I even remember in like primary school wanting to like direct the entire puppet show in year 2, and finding it like the most exciting thing ever.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably just like been in me from a young age. But yeah, it wasn't until I remember like watching the Harry Potter films and being like, I want to be in it, and like trying to find a way, and starting going to like Saturday drama classes and stuff like that. But it wasn't really until I guess I went to like university and I started getting really involved in the drama society. That like I was like, oh, this is a career that you can do.
And did you start like were you watching theatre like very much? Like you kind of were talking about like the main drive being from within you, like wanting to be in it or direct stuff. But like what did you see much as well?
We did see stuff sometimes. My granny used to take me to see dance shows a lot. So we didn't go to theatre that much. We went to the pantomime. I think it's funny because actually listening to other people speak about their first theatre experiences, they're almost always pantomime. Yeah. Which makes me like feel even more sure that pantomime's like a really important part of our culture. Because like it seems to be the first way in that a lot of people have. Like we used to go to the like local annual pantomime. Both my grannies used to take us to different ones every year.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Archway.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
But we used to. One of my grannies used to take me to one like near Muswell Hill, and then another one took me to one up in Enfield. I think it was in Enfield. But no, we did go to theatre sometimes. Like, I think once my parents started realising that was something that I was enjoying doing, that they'd get it for me for birthdays and stuff. Yeah. But we weren't like a massive theatre-going family.
Yeah. I always find that interesting because it's like, where did that impulse come from? Like, if it didn't come from my family, which is, I'm completely the same. My parents are like, have no interest in theatre. So it's like, it feels like it came innately from you. Innately from you. Yeah. And like, I'm always like, oh, where did that come from? Where did that spark?
I don't know. Maybe I was just like a big expositionist. Is that a word? As a kid, just wanting to have the attention on me. I don't know. Though actually, I wasn't really like that. Like I wanted to like dress up and do little shows, but I was quite shy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
so when you went to university, did you study like English or drama or any of those things?
I studied English. I actually, thinking about it now, I did want to go to drama school before then, but we had a family friend. My stepmom's friend is an actor. He was like the only like real life actor that I knew, and he was very much like, if there's anything else that you can think of doing and that you could ever think about wanting to ever do that. Don't do drama. And I was like, okay. And so I think
hearing that from someone who is an actor, that's like, okay,
yeah, and he's a really successful actor as well. You know, it's not. Yeah, he's done. You know, he's brilliant. He's doing really well. It's actually. I think that he was aware of how difficult it is.
Yeah.
And was kind of like, if there's anything else that you can think of doing, do that. And also I think at that particular time, I also wanted to study more.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know why.
Yeah.
But I definitely did. And I also wanted to take a gap year. I wanted to live abroad. There were lots of things that I wanted to do. And I thought I'll go and do those things and then see if I still want to pursue this. Because at that point, I guess it was like a hobby rather than a career path.
Yeah. And so, like, you mainly came to theatre, like, as an actor. Like, it sounds like it was like, I want to do it. I want to be in it. I want to, you know, like, do it that way. How, like, what was your journey then into writing?
I mean, I've always written bits and pieces, but I definitely wasn't thinking about it as a career. My journey into writing has pretty much been that I started playing around with stuff when I was at drama school. So I did an English degree and then I went to drama school and did a postgrad. And actually, when I was doing my degree and I was doing lots of like acting-y things, I remember looking at the people who were writing and being like really intimidated by them and thinking of it as something that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
And I was too scared, really. And I like used to play around with bits of script, but I always thought it was crap. And then at drama school, I wrote myself a couple of like monologues and duologues and things, but like didn't say that it was by me. Like when we had to do accent workshops or kind of
Why
quite
didn't
low.
you say that it was by you?
I just wanted to see if I could get away with it. And to be like,
as in like, it was like, someone would be like, oh, this is from Disco Pigs by Enda Welsh, and you were like,
this is from The Kitchen Table by George something. Yeah. Well, I kind of think it felt much less scary to do it that way because it wasn't like this kind of personal vomit that I was giving out to somebody. It was like a kind of contained exercise to see if I could write something and people not think it was really awful. Oh, it's interesting. Like, obviously, I'm probably putting that on retrospectively. I don't really know what I was doing at the time. I think it was partly also that I wanted to find something that I could perform, and I was like, here's the thing, I've written it.
But I find it interesting that you didn't want to take credit for it, or like words like intimidation or being scared, like the sort of the kind of like emotional barriers that like stopped you from being like, this is, I can own this mantle, I can like be a writer.
Yeah. I think I still find that hard. You know, it's like there's something about writing which for some people maybe it isn't like this, but for me anyway, it feels so incredibly personal. And like even when I remember like being in an English class as a kid, and you'd be given like a piece of creative writing as an exercise or something, or even like essays, but much more creative writing.
Yeah.
And I would be terrified of someone looking over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And reading any of it, because it felt like I was kind of like, I don't know. It's just like
my soul.
There's a poem by Hera Lindsay Bird. It's a really great poet, and it's at the beginning of this book of poetry. There's a poem about what it is to write, and it's like she describes it somewhere along the lines of like peeing yourself at a supermarket checkout. I think that's the like metaphor she uses, and wow. I agree. Like with that, it feels a bit like you're standing in a pool of your own urine, and like it's slightly shaming, but also a bit like, well, I did it.
Here it is.
Here it is. And I'm still kind of shedding that maybe. So yeah, it is weird at drama school. I guess I also was like very much, I'm going to be an actor, and I am identifying as an actor, and I don't want people to think that I'm not. Yeah.
I find that so interesting. Like, me and Ella have had such great chats about that sort of actor-writer divide, because like, do you still think of yourself primarily as an actor?
No. No, I don't. And that's like been quite a recent change.
Yeah. How recent?
Maybe in the last year or less. Yeah.
Whereas I think I'm still at the stage where I still primarily think of myself as an actor, because I've just been doing it longer. It's who I am. It's like who I've been since I was like 7 or something. Like it just feels like, but that's who I am. But I feel like almost like the opportunities with writing almost come a bit quicker, I guess. Like it doesn't, I don't think it's hard. I don't think it's easier, but at all by any means. But I was trying to remind Ella before we started recording that she said something amazing to me that has really helped my brain, which we were chatting at the Bush, and you said that, I'm going to try and remember it right. You said that you love the process of writing.
Oh, I remember.
No, it's the opposite. Like acting itself is a joy, like being on stage or like being in front of a camera, like saying words, feeling things, yum. But the lifestyle of an actor is horrible. Yeah. But like the lifestyle of a writer is great. Like you kind of make your own schedule. Like there's you kind of have the power, but the process of writing is horrible. And like that sort of dichotomy for both of those things was just so clarifying. Like I was like, yeah, what, like, like that's delineation. And I think that's so interesting. Like, I wonder when that shift happened and why you think that shift happened, and like how writing so much has affected you as an actor, or how seeing acting.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what I said and now what you've said. It's like that realisation that, well, A, you can do both. And that's fine. And also you can do more at one time and less of another and switch it up. And also that at the end of the day, you don't always get to choose what work's going to come along at any given time. And sometimes it is a case of just rolling with it a little bit. And I feel so incredibly privileged to be working as a writer. Because I know a lot of people aren't, who would love to be, and who probably should be, but they haven't had their plays read, or it hasn't, whatever, their scripts haven't ended up in the right places. And actually I've kind of got to roll with it a little bit. There is a huge amount of autonomy about doing this rather than just acting, and I'm enjoying that. And so I feel like, and I'm enjoying that as in I'm genuinely enjoying it, but I'm also kind of enjoying that on a day-to-day basis. Like the way that I am constructing my life at the moment is very free. And I guess I am writing 90% of the time. And so that is what I'm doing. So yes, over the last year, I've spent most of my time doing that. So I would identify more as a writer. But, I'm hoping that in the next, once I've cleared a couple of these projects, I can start moving my focus over to acting again, and maybe that will become the main thing for a bit. I don't know. For a little while I felt a bit stressed out by it, and I was a bit like, when people would ask for a biography or people just ask you what you did, I'd be like, I'm an actor and a writer. And actually I'm like, I don't know, I'm writing most of the time. So that is what I'm doing. It's
weird, the feeling that you kind of need to define yourself and like one needs to lead more than the other or anything, where it's like, as you say, like it's like I'm writing 90% at the time now, but like who knows, next couple of years it might like swing back and forth. Like it feels like it's any time that you have to define yourself in any way, it feels definite when it's actually not.
And I also think like, I mean, I've always slightly shied away from the term theatre maker, and I think quite a lot of other people do. It just sounds a bit like wishy-washy. But actually I think maybe we need to reclaim it a little bit, because the idea of obviously some people do only act, and some people only write and some people only compose, or there are lots of people who aren't multidisciplinary, but actually quite a lot of people do lots of things and have the skills to do lots of things,
especially now you can't survive really, like oftentimes like it's that gig economy thing, like but like expanded into theatre,
but also like why shouldn't we as well? I think we can all be kind of active members of the industry, like, or it's like, or even if your skill set is such that you just want to set design, say that's your thing, right? It doesn't mean that you're not. You're still like can be kind of an active member of the theatre industry. I don't know. Like there's something about
it's all collaborative. Like so, it's like a set designer could and should be able to give feedback on like what they think, like the writing is doing, or like the direction that something is going in. And I guess like it's limiting to think that like a set designer couldn't, and then like because we've sort of like maybe given roles really clearly, it means that you don't feel like you can be both or multiple things comfortably,
that people have to kind of stay within their remit. But I also think that like thinking about things in those incredibly kind of boxed ways can also help to perpetuate this hierarchy that unfortunately exists in the industry, where you do have, I mean, people consider what your role kind of decides like where you are in the kind of pecking order, and actually it's quite helpful if we can start to break down some of those barriers a little bit, by seeing everybody a bit more equally, as kind of creators and collaborators on the project, whether you're an actor or a set designer or a director or a writer or composer, whatever, that actually like it doesn't exist in this kind of top-down way, and actually it is a bit more like we will bring our own different skill set to the process. And one day I might be writing the play, and the next day I might be acting in the play, and it's not like I kind of shift up and down some kind of hierarchical ladder.
You were sort of saying like 90% of the time, like over the last like year or so you've been writing. Like what does your process look like? Like what's like a normal working day for you?
Well, when I say 90%, I mean like quite a lot of that time I'm procrastinating or like eating. What does the working day look like for me? I still haven't, if I'm completely honest with you, right, I've, obviously haven't been doing this for ages, but I've been writing more or less full time, whatever that means, over the last year or so, and I still haven't quite nailed the working day. I work best if I get up really early in the morning, which is slightly unfortunate because I also really love staying up late. And obviously I really like, socialising and doing things in the evenings. So often I'll like start the week feeling really great about getting up really early and then like working until lunchtime and maybe taking some time off in the afternoon because my concentration always completely drops in the afternoons, and then doing something in the evening, but often by like Thursday I'll completely crash because I won't be getting enough sleep. Yeah, but for me, I quite like this morning, for example, I got up quite early, and then I write a diary. Normally I write it before I go to bed, and I don't write it every day, but I tried to just write it this morning before I worked. It was really helpful because it kind of cleared out some of my personal, emotional, existential junk, and then cleared a bit of space for...
When I was talking to Jasmine Lee Jones, she talked about doing morning pages, that like artist way thing, and I actually tried it. I've been trying it over the last like week, and I find it really hard because it's like 3 A4 pages of paper.
Wow.
I know, like, and it's meant to be first thing. I only realised it was meant to be first thing like a bit late in the game, so I'd like eaten, like meditated, blah 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 before, and I was like, wait. But I do think there is something in like clearing your brain of like, I think you just said like personal stuff, like it's like kind of taking the trash out, like trash. I don't know why I said that, not American. Trash. But like say clearing it out, clearing the decks, and then starting. That's like interesting.
Totally. I mean, because I'm sitting there all day sometimes at my laptop on my own. Yeah. My brain's bound to wander into my own thoughts and feelings. So like, even if I'm working on something which doesn't, at least on the surface, seem particularly personal, it always ends up being personal. Yeah. Let's be honest. But yeah, it's quite. I think in theory it's a good idea. Actually, I spoke to Jazz about that as well because we did a residency together a couple of weeks ago. And I've never read The Artist's Way. Lots of my mates have, and yeah, I'm sure it's great. But I actually haven't read it. But I just maybe that is why I thought it would be a good idea to write my diary in the morning subconsciously. Yeah. But everyone finds their own way of doing things. Like I personally love doing exercise. Like it's just. I love being outside. At what point in the day? Any time of day. No, like when I'm getting a bit itchy. Sometimes like I'll save it. Like I'll do a few hours work and then I'll go. Nice. It's just good to get outside, I think. Yeah. And sweat a bit. But obviously like some people hate that. But that's fine. Swimming I always think is really great. But I only really like swimming outside. But I think when I'm swimming I get into quite a meditative state, and sometimes I'll like actively not think about whatever I'm working on, but then my brain will go there anyway because you're kind of like in this meditation zone and like sometimes end up solving some problems. Or like when I'm cycling, or something, I'm like a really good idea. Stop and write down. I feel like sometimes if I'm like freaking out and I'm struggling, I'm like, go for a walk. And sometimes when I go for a walk, I'm like, actually, it's so simple. Just do this. Yeah. I've taken characters for walks before as well. Oh, as about you're like, okay, Sherry will walk with me and I'll talk to Sherry. That's so cool. Well, is it a bit weird? No, that's very cool. I think it's like, well, it's kind of a drama. It's quite an acty thing to do, actually, isn't it? I remember doing a bit of like, I think it's Stanislavski, like stuff when we were at drama school, and we'd go out on like, you go out for coffee with another character in character, or you go for a walk or something. I remember trying to do it on a play that I've written, which is going to be on at Theatre for Plymouth next year. Next year? Yeah. I took the girl who's one of the main characters out for a walk with me one day. And it was actually really helpful to like try and look at stuff in the way that she would. Wait, so you were kind of being her? Ah, wow. Oh my God, that's so cool. I thought you were like, in your head, like she was just with you, but like... I think that's weirder. Is it weirder? Well, I don't know, having like an imaginary person walking next to me. True, yeah, right. You're so right. I was like, I'm Hayley. Yeah. It's Hayley. And like, how would Hayley feel going for this walk? Wow. And what would she see? And how would she look at that person? And what would her response be? That's so interesting. I mean, it is interesting. And it actually was quite helpful. But at the time I was like, is this me basically just making excuses not to sit at my laptop and work? That's so cool. Because I did a workshop with Alice Birch like a while ago. Right. And so often like writers have like character questions that they can like ask like the characters to like sort of find out more about them and get more depth and like, knowledge about them in detail. But like I found it really useful the way that she did it is that she like sort of put the way that she phrased it. It wasn't like, what is their hair colour? It was like,
describe your hair. Like, so it was like, it was to the character. And I found that so useful, like framing it to the character and letting them speak for themselves. Because I feel like it's a weird thing, I think, when you're writing characters, it's like they exist, I'm just getting to know them. And like, so phrasing the question in that way just helped my brain so much. Whereas like, what is their hair color? It's like, I don't know. I don't know them yet.
Yeah, actually, I haven't really ever thought about it like that before, but like kind of rather than like them being like a little doll that you hang things on, imagining that they already exist and you're just like uncovering them, like kind of archaeology or something. Yeah.
And I think that's probably why my brain was like, oh, I thought you took this character for a walk. Because it's like, okay, I'll but now that I say it, I know it's really weird to fit in my head. It's like, oh, cool. Like, you know, what do you think of that tree? But it's way better just to be I think I'm going to try that.
No, try it. It's fun. Also, particularly if you're, you know, obviously not all writers have background as actors and they might not think about things like this. But but actually for me, it feels like an easy way of getting into a character to then be able to write what they sound like and how they speak, because I think it's a little bit just like it's like improvising as an actor, isn't it?
Yeah, that's so good. I feel like there's a specific project that I haven't started, but I've been stuck on, and I feel like that's probably my way in. So thank you, Ella.
Oh, my pleasure.
Where do you write?
At the moment, in my bedroom quite a lot, though I'm really trying not to, because it's like a bit icky.
How so?
Well, it's kind of fine because I quite like writing at funny times of day. It's actually really hard to then find places to go. So if I'm writing early in the morning or late at night, obviously being in my room makes sense. And I also quite like sticking stuff up on the walls, and like I've got a whiteboard that I write stuff on sometimes. So that's all fine. But sometimes it's like I don't really like the idea of sleeping in the room that I'm writing in, because it's almost like you can't feel. Escape. I can. I mean, yeah. Sometimes I can't sleep. Sometimes I can. But it's almost just like it almost like smells of the play. Like I come back in, like, you know, to the place that I've been working in, and it's like it's all still hanging in the air. Yeah. And it's quite. I don't think it's that good for your mental health, really. Though I do keep on forgetting to not do it. But I also work in the library at the Wellcome Trust quite a lot. It's nice, and also it's quite nice being around people who are like doing completely different things. I work in cafes and cinema bars, like pretty standard, I think. I still haven't quite found my place. I'm looking into getting a bit of like workspace somewhere in a studio, and like forking out the cash just to have like a place that I go. But yeah, there's something quite nice about being, because I used to try and like work in like theatre cafes and stuff quite a lot, but which is obviously lovely, but I just bumped into all my mates. You
just end up like getting completely distracted.
Yeah, and I think I used to go to the Soho Theatre to work.
Yeah,
and I think
same,
part
actually.
of me went so that I bump into my mate.
Yeah. It's like I want a distraction.
Yeah, where do you write?
I think I often write in my room. But I think I'm just like surrounded by nice things. I feel like I'm a Cancer, and like Cancers are known for being like really good homemakers, and so my room is like really nice. And I think because my desk, like my back is to my bed, and I think I've got a weird relationship with my bed where it's like I'm going to write for an hour and then I'm going to lie down. It's like I'm sort of treating myself.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's like, but I don't know if that's good. And sometimes I can't. It depends on, I think, the stage that I'm at with a play. Sometimes I just literally can't like write in my room. Like, I think certain things I'm like, oh no, I've been here too long with it. It doesn't want to be here. It wants to fly free. So I have to find somewhere else to go.
Yeah.
You kind of like talking a bit about like your mental health, like, and like also like with your exercise as well, like that being like when you were like, sometimes you just need to sweat. I was like, yeah, you do. Like, and I wonder whether like sometimes, because with writing, it can be so personal when you're in your head, like what things that you do to kind of like balance that with your mental health and like sort of make it less isolating.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And I think sometimes I feel like I'm managing it all really well. I go through weeks, I'm like, God, Ella, you're great at this. You've got the life balance. You know, you're doing your exercise. You're writing in a diary. You're spending enough time not working. You're working enough. And I'm like, oh. And then other weeks, I'm like, this is a complete disaster. Why am I so unhappy? I think, for me, exercise is a really important thing. Partly because it just gets, I need to be outside quite a lot. And there is a difficult thing with like, you know, actually, I love writing. I love making theatre. I think it's really important. But actually, I don't know if I'm personally built for sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah.
And
do you think you're an extrovert or an introvert?
I don't know.
I
don't know. My housemate definitely is like, you're an introvert, because I'm like, don't talk to me, I'm writing. But I think it just depends what mood I'm in. I kind of swing between being really, really sociable and wanting to be around people all the time and make jokes and, you know, like make a fool of myself. And then other times feeling very, very serious and feeling like I need to be on my own.
I feel like once I heard someone put it really well, which I found really useful, which is like, it's like whether you get energy from other people, like, or being around other people, or whether you get it from like being alone, because like you can be an incredibly sociable introvert and you can be like quite a shy extrovert, and like I found that really useful and like sort of thinking about it, because also I think you can be an outgoing introvert as well, so it is like hard to like, but I was just interested like to ask, because like I think I know that I'm a huge extrovert, like I'm like a ridiculous extrovert, like it's sort of, it can be, it's always unhelpful how extroverted I am. And I think I find that incompatible with writing, because I just like find it hard to like sit at a desk all day and be alone.
Absolutely.
And so I totally relate to that feeling of like needing to be outside and get out.
Yeah, and I'll like go and seek people quite actively.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been trying to do recently is having kind of registered that about myself and realised that as I've moved into writing most of the time and acting much less, and also not doing my like other jobs and things, because I'm like lucky enough at the moment I don't have to. It's like it's great, but also then it means I've lost all this contact with people. And so I've actually quite actively started carving out time to do some workshop facilitation, because I really enjoy it, and join in with some more like group activities and actually like make time to do those things, just because it's good, because it makes me happy. It gives me energy. Like, so maybe I am, I don't know, whatever you said, but I think I get energy from probably an extrovert. But like, I'm an extrovert who loves spending time on my own. Like I'll kind of go away on holiday on my own and stuff.
Same. I
don't know, like from the mental health thing is hard. I think this industry is really, really hard. And even if you know, you're lucky enough to not have kind of the particular chemical makeup that means you're prone to depression, people are bound to feel low. Like it's really difficult. And I think particularly the way that it is, we're living through really difficult times anyway. Like I kind of wake up most days and feel a bit of an existential mess at the moment. Because it's just like the kind of political crisis that we're in, the climate crisis, a lot of stuff to be worried about. And actually also working in an industry which is so precarious. And where there's a kind of lot of kind of competition and people kind of elbowing each other out the way. I think like, and you know, people being valued on, you know, being success being this kind of thing that's held up. It's not good for people's brains. But like me personally, I don't know, I found like different ways of dealing with it for sure. I see a therapist, which I never used to do. And I find that really helpful. I know that's not an option for everyone, weekly at the moment. And actually, like, obviously I went in there being like, I will not talk about my work, because I can talk to my colleagues about my work, and then I end up talking about writing all the bloody time, because that's what I'm doing most of the time. But I think finding other people, like connecting with other writers and other theatre makers, and having that I can have really trusting, honest relationships with, has been a really important part of staying sane. But also hanging out with people who don't work in the industry. And that's, I think, a mistake that I slightly made the couple of years that I came out of drama school, was that inevitably my closest friends were people who were doing similar things to me, but also it felt very good to have that community, and it is really important to have that community. But like slowly over the last couple of years, I've been just hanging out more with my friends who don't work in the arts, or maybe work in different aspects of the arts.
And why do you think that is so helpful?
Well, it kind of reminds you that the rest of the world exists.
Which
I think is really helpful, because it can get quite like insular. And it's really great having chats with people who have absolutely no idea what theatre's on at the moment, and frankly don't care. You know, because they care about the education system, or the what's happening in nursing at the moment, or you know, all these other incredibly important, complicated things that are happening. So.
Because it's kind of like it kind of like gives you perspective and like opens you up, like, which is both good for like mental health, but also kind of like really good for writing, like as well, like being able to be reminded of like other things that are important to you, like that can take you in different directions, I guess. Totally,
because also otherwise, like if all of us writers just hung out with writers and actors and directors, then we'd just be writing plays about writers, actors and directors, probably. Which, like, I mean, some of them are great, but I'm not particularly interested in writing those plays.
I think that's so helpful about like carving out time to see people, because I think it can get so lonely. Like I remember when I first started writing, I sort of like realised that I was going to have to write for the next couple of weeks, and I sent a doodle out, like a doodle poll out to my friends. I was like, I'm a huge extrovert. I know that I won't be able to get through the day unless I speak to somebody. Can you plot in when I can call you in my lunch break that I'm going to give myself so that I can like chat to someone? I feel like, I mean, that's a weird way of doing it, but like just being like, hey, can I meet up with you? Like it's probably like simpler, but I think that's so important for mental health, being like, I need to connect. Like it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And making sure that you do that like a certain amount of times a week can have, like make such a difference.
Totally. I do that. There are some of my mates that I call on lunch breaks as well. I don't doodle it though, but that's a good idea.
Yeah. I'm wondering about like the process of getting the phlebotomist stage. Like what was that journey like? Like when did that happen? How did it happen?
I wrote it about 3 years ago. God, nearly 3 years ago. The first draft. And I wrote it quite quickly. And the reason why I wrote that play in the first place was about, like, not the subject. I've been interested in the subject matter for ages, but actually I helped set up a little theatre company called Flux Theatre, which I'm now just kind of support from the sidelines, and it's doing really, really well. And like the people Will and Georgie who run it are absolutely awesome. And but a few of us from that little theatre collective were interested in writing but wouldn't necessarily call ourselves writers. And so we all said that we'd get together and bring something that we'd written and we'd all read it out. And so we booked a space at the Calder Bookshop Theatre on the Cut on a Saturday afternoon, and we're like, we all just have to bring something. And I was babysitting my little brother and sister on the Friday night, and I basically stayed up all night writing this play.
Wow.
And like it was a very kind of rough, like primitive version of what ended up being the play. But maybe it wasn't that different. And I kind of brought it along, and then we read it and I was like, oh, I think this is quite good actually. And everyone else was like, no, I think it's really good. And I was like, cool. So I started to send it to like friends and like director friends who I trusted, and getting some feedback and redrafting and stuff. And then I spoke to a theatre producer that I'd met at a press night and kind of stayed in touch with, a guy called Peter Clayton, who really sadly passed away just over a year ago, really sadly. He was a very generous and wonderful man. And he basically said, look, whenever you're ready, I can't like produce it, but I can gift you like space to hold a reading of it, so you can invite people. And I was like, that'd be absolutely amazing. Wow. And so we did. And so by like the spring, I was like, I think I'm ready. So we booked the space out for the summer.
And so how long ago was that from the first draft?
It was a few months after.
Cool.
But then obviously we had to book, the space wasn't free till like June, and then and then I did a bit of R&D on it as well. Got some. It was a kind of process of, at the beginning, just getting mates in my kitchen and reading it and playing around and doing improvisation and stuff. And then actually, I asked another friend of mine if he could give me a bit of cash so I could pay some people. I started to slightly run out of favours. And we did 2 days of R&D on it with just like actors. That was great. And then did the reading, and then I basically just invited everyone that I knew. Or that I didn't know. I just invited all of the theatres, and most of them didn't come. But I just basically thought, I'm just going to reach out to anyone in the industry. Obviously deep down, I really hope that someone would be like, aha, we're going to put it on your play. But really, I thought, like, I just want to make contact with these people and be like, I am a writer and I've written this play. Like, can we chat? And actually most people didn't come because it's really hard to get people out on an afternoon. Then Will, who used to be the literary manager at the Hampstead Theatre, came, and then he sent me an email the next day and was like, do you want to come in for a meeting? And then I did the following week. And then he was like, I'd really love to pass on your script to the artistic director, who was then Ed Hall, and Greg Ripley-Duggan, who is still the exec producer. And I was like, of course you can. And actually, I remember I sent him the script, and he was like, Ellie, you haven't got your name on the script. And I was like, oh. Yeah. And then he sent us them, and then I went for a meeting with them a few weeks later after that, and they asked if they could put it on downstairs. Wow. So it was a really, really accelerated process. And at the time I was like, God, this playwriting thing is a piece of piss. Obviously I know that that's not the case now, because it's really hard to get stuff on, and I appreciate that like most people can't even get anyone along to a reading, or you know, they'll send their script in to a million different submission windows and it never get through. So now I appreciate quite how lucky I was that somebody even came. Because I do think about that a lot, actually. Like, there are so many brilliant writers out there and so many brilliant scripts, but it doesn't mean, like, it doesn't really mean anything until somebody gets into the right the hands of somebody who can push it forward.
Or, and like, who gets it, like, who just like is like, this is right. This is right for my theatre. This is who I am, and this is why this speaks to me.
Absolutely,
Because I feel like I feel like my journey was a little bit similar. Like, it was like a rehearsed reading that, like, actually, as you say, like, no one really came to, but like, because the guy who directed that, Tom Wright, who is a legend, my patron saint, he was speaking to the Bush anyway about his work, like, because he's a writer as well. And then, like, that meant that it, like, got into, like, the Net's hands and Dan's hands and everyone. But it's like, it's those specific people that get that play. If it was, like, a sort of different theatre or a different artistic director, I don't think that it would be being staged. But because it's, like, the right person sees it, like, that is why it happens.
Absolutely. It's like it's a taste thing, and there's so much luck involved, which is actually really frustrating, because you can't control it. But I guess what you can do is be really loud, like, and actually invite people. Because that's what I realised is that, like, I remember when I used to do this little singing class on Saturday, and there was the guy who ran the class was absolutely terrifying. In fact, I really hope he doesn't listen to this podcast. No, he was brilliant. His name was Ray, right? And he was terrifying in a wonderful way, in that he was, like, really, really pushy and really kind of made us all try absolute best all the time. And I remember he used to come out with these, like, little words, like phrases of wisdom. And one of the things he used to say was, it doesn't matter how good you are at singing, which was obviously singing class. If you're in your bedroom singing beautifully into a hairbrush, the likelihood of a music producer driving down the street at the exact moment that you're singing, like, your best verse into a hairbrush with your window open, the likelihood of that person picking you up and making you into Britney Spears is basically zero, right? So, like, it doesn't mean anything unless you put yourself out there. And that's really scary. But actually, like, I think you do have to do that. And I think, so it's obviously a combination of being able to put yourself out there plus all of the luck that we've just spoken about.
But I think that's the thing. It's like, you can't get lucky if you're not kind of in the race. What? I'm sure I'm butchering, like, some kind of, like, well-known phrase, but it's like, unless you're in it, you can't win it. You know, there's a much better one, but I don't know what it is. Totally. Because it's like, I completely relate to that feeling of, like, I don't think it's going to be on. Like, no one's going to put it on, but I'm just going to invite everyone so people just know that this is what I'm doing. And I think I did the exact same thing. It's like, I had a rehearsed reading and I was like, I'm just going to, like, send letters out, not letters, emails to, like, everyone. And I think that's the kind of way that these things happen. And it doesn't always happen, but like, that's the kind of first step, because at least then you're, like, a theatre or, like, literary, like, person, like, knows that you're writing and, like, will recognise your name.
But I think it's also like what you said, it's like finding the people who it chimes with. Like, any piece of work is not going to chime with everyone, and that's fine. You don't need it to. Like, it'd be really boring if we all like the same stuff anyway. So also it's also about being specific as well, because I did like, even though I never dreamt of my play being on, like, I was like, the Bush would be, like, the place that I'd want. Like, it's like it's made for that space, and, like, I didn't write it with that space in mind, but when I dreamt of it ever being on beyond my wildest dreams, I was like, it'd be great if it was on the Bush. And I think it also is, it can be good to, like, send it everywhere, but I think it's also really good to be like, hello, you specifically, like, you might like this is the right kind of play for, like, this theatre. Absolutely. And also connecting up with, like, the other creatives that you also, whose work you like too. Like, who, you know, it's like finding your people a little bit, people who are making stuff that you like, because they're probably going to be the people you end up collaborating with later down the line.
So true.
Because, like, if you picked a different director, for example, for that reading, like, he might, was it he? Sorry, you say Tom, he or she, other director person, might not have might have liked it, but not have not have been in with the bush.
Yeah.
But also been like, meh,
Yeah.
Oh, it's quite a nice piece of work, but it doesn't really mean anything to me. Like, yeah. So.
And like, what was the rehearsal process like? Like, how did you feel like while it was being rehearsed, and then when it was like went on to being staged? Like, what was that journey like from like the day one of rehearsals to like opening it?
It's probably really easy to look back at it with rose-tinted glasses, because I actually found it really stressful, and quite scary. Whereas now I'm like, it was great. The whole thing was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great in lots of ways. It was so exciting.
Yeah.
The actors were amazing.
Yes.
And I felt so lucky to be working with that team, and also to have like my work in such capable hands, and people were treating it with such care and respect, and that really was like incredibly. I felt very privileged. But it was scary.
Yeah.
You know, as a kind of first experience of handing something over. I mean, I don't actually, maybe handing something over isn't quite the right phrasing, because you're not really doing that.
Yeah.
Like, you are still carrying on working on it together.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends on on my experience was very collaborative.
Yeah.
Other people may not work like that. Sam Yates, the director, wonderful Sam, we spoke a lot about it, you know, and he was very aware of the fact that it was my first play, and that we were and he's much more experienced than me in the industry, and that we were going to be kind of working together, working out what the best working relationship was. I had, because it was new, and like very new, I did quite a lot of revisions in rehearsals. Not loads, but there were some chops and changes. Like, I stayed in for the whole of the first week. I'd go home in the evenings, rewrite tiny little bits, cut lines, whatever, and then bring them in the next morning, and we'd feed them back to the actors. But then I made a decision to step out for the second week. We only had 3 weeks to rehearsals.
Oh, wow, for that play.
Yeah. It was really, really hard.
Whew.
Which meant that previews were terrifying.
Oh, God.
And everything went wrong.
Oh, no.
For the first few previews. I cried loads.
Oh.
Yeah. Big crier anyway, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm really glad. It's so good to hear, because like, you think, oh my God, like my play's on, everything's gonna be fine. Like, you know, that's the goal. And then like, it's really important to be told, like, it's gonna be stressful. you're gonna be stressed out, and you're gonna be anxious, and you're gonna cry loads, because I will, and I know that I will. So
you can just give me a ring.
Yes,
have a chat. It'll be fine.
Yes, please.
Yeah, like my mates of mine who have had plays on since, I've like, in like the least patronising way. So obviously, it's literally, I'm still really early on in my career. I've just been like, call me.
Yeah,
it's okay if you hate it.
Yeah,
because, and it's not any. This isn't any reflection on the other creators involved.
No, yeah.
It's just really, it's really exposing.
Yeah,
and it's incredibly exhilarating and really amazing, but it's scary, and it's okay to find it really stressful. Yeah.
I'm going to do an annoying thing. I'm going to hop back, because I found it really interesting when you were kind of, I just found it fascinating, because you sort of talked at the beginning about like feeling like kind of intimidated, and like the idea of like calling yourself a writer or writing like felt like a sort of interesting like back and forth process. Like, it was like, I don't feel ready to like be like, this is what I'm doing. But then with that sort of theatre company, that's when you like sort of created the beginnings of the Phlebotomist. Like, did you do any like writers groups, like any writing programs, like, or was it just like, I've written a thing, now I'm making it happen? So
at that point, no, I hadn't done any writers groups when I wrote the play. I then applied. So once the play had been picked up by the Hampstead, that summer I applied to do the Soho Writers Lab.
Yeah,
that's what it's called, which started in October. So the play was kind of, I guess we were in chats with directors and stuff at that point. Oh no, I hadn't. I'd been meeting some directors, but I hadn't chosen who I was going to work with. And that was when I had my first kind of like formal writery group thing. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Because I got to meet loads of other writers and see how they worked. I think those groups are brilliant.
Yeah.
I don't think they're the be all and end all.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Also, I had applied to that, maybe not the year before that, but the year before that, and hadn't got on. I'd been like, God, screw you all. Because I think I'd been like, oh, maybe I'll try a bit of writing. And then didn't get in. So I was like, oh God, I must not be a writer.
But that's incredible that you didn't get onto it, and then like that year you wrote that play, like, because it's such an incredible play. Like my brain almost like had to jump back, so I was like, wait a second, hold on, you like had no kind of formal training or like companionship as you made that. Like, I just find that amazing, like the beginnings of that play coming purely from yourself. Obviously you were like working with Flux and like that, but I just found that really cool. I think going to drama school and like being around plays loads is really good training, actually. Yeah.
I think you can be taught to write, but I also think some people can just write. I think
Yeah.
we are like innate. Like if you're lucky enough to be brought up reading or being read to or going to theatre, watching films, you know, being exposed to stories, I think we are as humans very wired to tell stories and to like construct things narratively. So you know, like some people may benefit more or less from going to formal writing training. But actually I don't like. Yeah, I think that you can just, it is kind of there.
Yeah, totally. But I think because I did the Royal Court like intro group and like, I feel like that was the only reason I managed to write a play. And I think maybe it was because I really relate to what you're saying about like not feeling like you could write or like, so I think it's more like you coming from that place of not feeling like you could, but then years down the line being like, bam, here's a play. Like that is like what I find really fascinating. But I think definitely like there like, it would probably benefit loads of people not having like the pressure or like other people around you. But I guess because I sort of really related to that, I was like, wow, how did you go from not feeling like you could to then like doing it without kind of peers and a kind of course and like that kind of structure? But it's just testament to your amazing brain.
I don't know. I just think like just also was feeling really frustrated and like had loads of stuff I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like I don't have to wait for somebody to tell me that I can. I'm just going to write it. But also I had been playing around with writing for a bit before then. I just hadn't been showing it to anyone. I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
It's not like I suddenly had like literally never sat down and written a script before and wrote it. That would be me pretending that I kind of had just like arrived there. Like I had been playing around. I just hadn't been showing it to anyone.
Right.
And I've been writing poetry for a bit and like I performed that, you know, and that was my first experience actually of kind of getting something I'd written in front of people, in front of an audience.
Yeah.
And that was just after I left drama school, actually. I wrote myself this kind of poetic monologue that I performed at the Old Red Lion. And that was like my first terrifying experience of kind of writing something and being like, here you go, I've written this. And actually getting some I didn't invite anyone I knew. I purposefully just went and did it to this like anonymous audience. Didn't tell anyone I was doing it. It was like a one-off night of political theatre, and I just like said, "Can I write something?" And they were like, "Sure."
Yeah.
And then did it, and actually that for me was the real first step of going, "Oh, okay, I've written something that I care about, and other people have clapped and come up to me and said that was good." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna pocket that bit of positivity, and then try and like make something else."
And so, like, how did you make a living before you were kind of like full-time writing? Like when you were like sort of alongside acting, like what did you do to like earn your money?
Earn the money. So when I was at drama school and then for a bit of time after I was working at the Natural History Museum.
Ah, cool.
Yeah,
that's a
I
cool
loved
job.
it there. It was so cool. It was so badly paid.
Oh no.
Minimum wage.
No.
Minimum wage and so far from where I lived. But I loved it because I really loved dinosaurs and also like really interested in like natural history and evolution. So I applied for it just as like a Christmas job, but ended up going back and doing it in the holidays when I was studying, and then carrying on a bit into that first year that I was out. So my first job actually was tutoring a young woman, a girl, who was unable to go to school. So it was a job through Haringey Council. And that was a really kind of like being thrown in the deep end experience. And I worked with her for like 5 or 6 hours a week for a year. And that was brilliant it was very challenging, but really great. And that was mainly what I did when I first left. And then through that, I had like quite a good CV of experience because it was quite a broad range of stuff that we were studying together, and it was also quite challenging. And I then used that to get some other tutoring jobs. And as I kind of went on, I then started to realise I was basically only tutoring really rich kids to get into private school. And, you know, as somebody, I don't believe in private school. And I don't want to support the system. I started to find that a bit tough.
I actually had the same thing. Just after leaving uni, I tutored, and I just found it like, oh God, I'm part of the system. Like, and I mean, also I don't think I was a very good tutor. So I think I probably it wasn't me being righteous in any way when I stopped. But like, I think, it can be. It's tricky because it's like you need to support yourself, and like you need to do things that enable you to make work. But also you don't want to do stuff that makes you feel Gross.
Yes, you don't. But unfortunately, I think because of the precariousness of the industry and the fact that like most people who, if you're an actor, only 2% of actors earn a living from acting, right?
Yeah.
And writing, I'm sure it's more or less the same. I don't actually know what the stats are. The likelihood is that you're going to have to do another precarious job on the side, or maybe 5,
let's be real.
to earn a living, to live in London, because London is impossible to live in, as we all know.
Yeah.
Like no rent security. Like
We should all move to Manchester.
maybe
basically.
we should. But, like there are an abundance of things to make it difficult for people to work in the arts.
Yeah.
And it is just the unfortunate truth that a lot of the people who are like trying to work in and do good work in this industry are being forced to work in quite icky either corporate jobs or like supporting I'd say tutoring is probably at the lower end of icky, really. Like it is like at the end of the day supporting children, mainly children to achieve academic potential, even if you do, even if it means that you're kind of playing into the private school system. Like it is complicated, but like I also think that we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much because it is partly to do with the kind of unfortunate economic system that we're in at the moment, that there isn't a universal basic income or something, to like help people to actually just be able to baseline pay their rent.
I think the best thing that I did for myself is to try and find a job on the side that I loved, because I was like, I can't sustain a creative career if I don't love what I do when I'm not acting at the time. Like now I've been like writing and I've like been able to sustain myself a bit more, but like if I was like, I won't survive much longer than a couple more years if I don't absolutely love what I do on the side. So I feel like that's like one of the best ways, and also was like great for my mental health as well, like feeling like I love what I do, even whether I'm acting or writing or whatever. That feels like a really helpful thing.
I agree. I had a chat with my housemate about this yesterday, actually. We were talking about how there's a tendency because of what we're doing, there's always this feeling of reaching towards something in the future, of kind of like, oh, well, I'm just doing this right now so that when I am successful, whatever that means, in however many years' time, that's what I'm aiming for, is the future. But actually, I think we need to start creating without sounding too cheesy, we need to start creating our future in the present, whatever that might mean to us. And actually, like, it's not always going to be possible, but actually trying to create a basic like lifestyle that is secure and has enough joy in it in the present tense, rather than always thinking, well, like, currently I'm working in this burger bar, even though I really, 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 really hate it, just because I'm reaching for this, maybe getting this creative job in a year, and actually trying to find a way to, in any way possible, construct our lives now so that they have enough joy in them.
Construct a life that you love for the present moment
Exactly. Obviously that it's very easy for me to say this coming from an incredible position of privilege, that right now I am earning all my money working in the arts, and I know that that's not possible. That isn't the same for everybody. But even within my own version of that, I'm like, am I constructing my day-to-day life in a way that makes me happy? I don't know. So like maybe we can
think about it. It's like a daily thing as well as a kind of like a lifestyle restructure thing.
Absolutely.
And you kind of briefly spoke about success just then, like that kind of, and how unhealthy it is to kind of reach towards it. But like, what does success look like to you? If you were to imagine like yourself in 5 years or 10 years, like, and you were to imagine being successful, what would that look like?
Oh, I have absolutely no idea.
I love that answer.
I have absolutely no idea.
I haven't thought about it. Great. Because you're so living in the present. You're doing it now.
I think it's probably just me having a nice time with my friends.
Oh, yes. Ella Road.
Maybe doing some walking.
Oh my God.
But also,
legend.
Also, like from a practical perspective, being at a position where I don't have to take on so much work and I can still earn a living off it. But also have enough time to do things that aren't at all related to the industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the best answers I've had so far.
Really? It's quite boring.
No, but boring is great, because it's like, it's about being content. It's about being like, I want to be happy. Like that's the answer that I just heard. It's like, don't really give a shit. Like, so long as I'm making and like able to eat, like, I don't really care. Like,
I mean, really, maybe success would be like having managed to stage a revolution, and we'd all be living in a not a neoliberal society.
Fantastic.
But I'm not sure if that's currently within my capability.
Well, not alone, but
not alone.
Yeah. with everyone else who maybe will listen to this podcast.
Yeah,
Who knows?
like everyone who's listening, if we all come together.
Yeah, start the revolution.
Revolution is ours, and it will not be televised. It'll be on stage.
My final question, or I feel like, I guess it's sort of two-part. I'm just wondering, like, what you're excited about making next.
Ooh, I'm excited. Well, I'm handing in a play next week, actually, but it's not going to be finished for the Almeida, which I'm very excited about. But I'm mainly excited about like what we can do with it, like because at the moment it feels very messy. I'm quite looking forward to like inviting some more brains in, seeing what we can find. I'm writing a play for the Bush as well, which I'm very excited about. Yes. It's about gender testing in sport, and hyperandrogyny.
Oh, yes.
So I actually worked on that with their emerging writers group last year. It was the idea that I kind of cooked up whilst I was doing that group, and they've taken it on as a full commission, which is superb. And I'm really excited about digging back into that. So there's things I'm excited about. And then there's a play for Hampstead as well, a new one. Which I'm excited about but slightly daunted by because it's quite personal in lots of ways and it feels a bit icky at the moment, but I'll get there. Yeah.
And so the second part of the question, even though it's actually just two questions, what inspires you?
What inspires me? Power dynamics. That's very broad.
No, that's not broad. That's quite specific.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I think
there's loads of different kinds.
Loads of different kinds, yeah. Like, I think that is often where drama comes from. I think that could be looked at through lots of different lenses. I try and read lots of stuff. I'm really interested in science. I never even would have thought that I particularly was, but apparently I am, because it seems to be that quite a lot of the stuff that I end up writing about in some way has a kind of scientific question at the heart of it. I guess that's because we're living through incredibly rapidly changing times, and science, a lot of things do come down to science in one way or another. Inspired. I mean, also like my mates and my family, the people that I know. Like it's when you get inside someone's brain and you realize that's that like realization that somebody else has a completely full experience of the world that's different to your own, and like I guess that's inspiring in a way because that's the basis of making a character. And like what it is to be a person, and like because it's not just like, oh, this is how I feel about things, but it's like negotiating how other people feel and like relationships and politics and humanity. Big stuff.
Yes.
What inspires you?
Oh, you're such a cheeky interviewee.
I know.
Like, you're batting the questions back to me. Oh God. Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and the belief that human beings try to be good.
Oh my God, that's what my play for the Almeida is all about.
Well,
it's not
sick.
really, but
well,
like I'm desperate to prove that is the case, and I'm struggling, but I'm trying.
Oh, so good to speak to you. Thank you so
you
much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to Making It. If you'd like to hear more, make sure to subscribe and leave us a cheeky 5-star review. You can also follow me on Twitter @WilkeyWay, and you can book to see my debut play, The High Table, which will be on at the Bush Theatre in Shepherd's Bush from February the 8th. Making It is produced by Jane Ryan, edited and scored by Kasra Firouzyar, photography by Jess Ravel, artwork by Theo Banner, and hosted by me, Temi Wilkey. The podcast is supported by the Bush Theatre and London Playwrights, and is a proud member of the OneFinePlay network.